Good afternoon, members of Parliament, and in particular, members of the Committee of Justice, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to the continuation of the Committee of Justice meeting number 10 for today, Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, of the parliamentary year 24-25. I would like to give a special welcome to the union representatives that are here present today. We have established a quorum of 9 members. Please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence of MP Lewis. I have also received notice of lateness from MP Peterson. Are there any notifications? That does not seem to be the case. We have an agenda point for this meeting. Discussion with the Nationaal Algemene Politiebond regarding pressing justice-related concerns that are currently affecting its membership and the broader public service environment, noted under IS number 1280-2024-2025, dated August 5th, 2025. We go over to the agenda point. On August 5th, 2025, Parliament received a letter from the Board of the Nationaal Algemene Politiebond, NAPB, St. Martin, with a request for an urgent meeting with the Committee of Justice of Parliament to discuss the above-mentioned agenda point. This document is registered as incoming document IS 1280-2024-2025, dated August 5th, 2025, and can be found on Parliament General Teams. Subsequently, on August 22nd, 2025, Parliament received a letter, IS number 1354-2024-2025, signed by unions NAPB St. Martin, UPFO St. Martin, WICSU PSU, requesting the inclusion of unions UPFO and WICSU PSU to the meeting of today as is related to justice personnel. This committee meeting was initially held on Thursday, August 28, 2025, during which members were given the opportunity to pose their questions. After a brief adjournment, some answers were given to the questions. However, the unions requested additional time to caucus regarding the responses to the remaining questions. Consequently, the meeting was then adjourned to allow the union representatives the necessary time to prepare their responses to the remaining questions. So today, representatives of the NAPB St. Martin, UPFO St. Martin, and WICSU PSU have returned to present the pending answers to the questions posed by the members of Parliament. As such, I would now like to give the floor to the representatives of the Nationale Algemene Politiebond and NAPB St. Martin for their presentation of the pending answers to the questions. I now give the floor to Mr. Marcus Pontoflet. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, through you, at this time, I would like to introduce my fellow union representatives. To my right, I have Ms. Sharon Kangita. She is the president of WICSU PSU. To my left, I have my secretary, Ms. Belinda Bryson. And to my right again, I have my treasurer. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to address the members of Parliament and the Justice Committee.
You may continue.
Madam Chair, through you, I would like to wish the honorable members of Parliament, esteemed members of the Justice Committee, the listening and viewing public, as well as the persons in the tribune, a pleasant afternoon. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you once again. I'm here before you today, not only as the elected leader of NAPB St. Martin, but as the voice of over 222 dedicated justice workers who serve the community of St. Martin with integrity, courage, and a deep commitment to public safety. Our members are on the front lines every day, upholding the law, protecting lives, and often placing their own safety at risk to preserve the peace and security we all value. NAPB St. Martin, along with ABVO St. Martin and WICSU PSU, are here today in response to the Justice Committee's queries concerning ongoing matters within the Justice Ministry that directly and indirectly affect the working conditions, rights, and morale of the justice personnel across the country, St. Martin. We welcome this dialogue and hope it leads to actionable outcomes that benefit both law enforcement and the broader justice system. We acknowledge the need for reform within the justice sector, and unions present today are not opposed to progress. However, we must emphasize that effective reform cannot occur without inclusive consultation. Too often, policies affecting frontline officers are developed in isolation without meaningful engagement with those tasked with their implementation. A recurring concern is the lack of adequate resources. Officers are expected to perform under increasing pressures with limited manpower, outdated equipment, and insufficient support services. These challenges not only hinder operational efficiency, but compromise officer safety and community trust. We call upon the Justice Committee to advocate for a few comprehensive review of the budget allocations to law enforcement agencies with a focus on enhancing frontline capacity, upgrading equipment and technology, expanding mental health and wellness programs for officers. It is no secret that the relationship between the ministry and justice workers has experienced strain in recent months. Political rhetoric, conflicting directives, and perceived lack of support have left many officers feeling undervalued. We believe in restoring trust in the ministry and law enforcement community. This starts with open communication, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. All unions present here today are ready to play a constructive role in rebuilding this relationship. Honorable members of Parliament, the safety of the community of St. Martin, the integrity of our justice system, and the well-being of our officers depend on our ability to work together. All unions collectively stand ready to engage in meaningful dialogue and contribute constructively to the elevation of our justice system. We respectfully ask that our voices be heard, our concerns addressed, and our role respected as essential partners in justice and public safety. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pantoflet. You now may continue to the answering of the questions of the members of Parliament.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I will answer the questions posed by MP La Cruz. The question goes as follows. What actually were your proposals and what proposals have been made? Madam Chair, through you, it wasn't entirely clear what the MP meant with this question. However, if we assume that the MP was referring to the Nagico insurance, as that was his follow-up question, through you, Madam Chair, we would like to inform the MP La Cruz that a committee was in place that included, among others, representatives from the unions, NAPB, WICSU, and ABVO, who were instrumental in putting this insurance together for the Justice Ministry. I now answer the follow-up question. Did you receive notification that the insurance was canceled? And if notice was received, why was it canceled? Madam Chair, to the Honorable MP La Cruz, neither the unions nor our members, neither of our members of the Justice Ministry received notice that the insurance was canceled. I move on to the following question. I now move on to the question by MP De Wever. Who is covered with the Nagico insurance? Madam Chair, through you, we have noted that several members of Parliament posed the same question, but just worded differently. And through you, Madam Chair, I would like to provide the following response collectively. The information is derived from an article published in the media on October 11, 2016 regarding the then Minister of Justice, Mr. Edson Kirindongo. The article stated, "For the first time in St. Martin's history, employees under the Justice Ministry now have full insurance coverage for accidental death and dismemberment. This was made possible by the Minister of Justice, Edson Kirindongo, who collaborated with the three unions, ABFO, WICSU, and NAPB, that represent justice workers to negotiate and secure this coverage for the staff." This brings me directly to MPD Weaver's next question to you, Madam Chair, which is, was NAGICO insurance part of the contract when you first started working at the ministry? Through you, Madam Chair, based on the information publicly available at the time, including the reference media article, Madam Chair, I would like to respond to the Honorable MP and inform her that the insurance policy was not a mandatory condition upon employment. Some justice workers did in fact choose to opt out of the coverage, making it voluntary rather than an automatic part of the employment contract. I now move forward to the other question by MPD Weaver. Was this insurance ever paid out to families, and if so, under what conditions? Madam Chair, the response to that question is yes. The insurance coverage was paid out in at least 5 cases involving justice workers. Madam Chair, to you, one notable example was in 2018 when a colleague passed away while the policy had already lapsed. The government, however, then made a payment to renew the policy, and NAGICO subsequently honored the claim. The funeral costs were covered, and to my knowledge, the family received a lump sum upon the passing of the colleague. This highlights the value of the insurance, even in difficult circumstances. Madam Chair, the following question by MPD Weaver is, was there a bidding process, and if so, how was NAGICO chosen? Madam Chair, to you, there was a bidding process with approximately 4 insurance companies expressing interest. NAGICO presented the most favorable terms, both in price and coverage, and based on that evaluation, the committee responsible for the negotiations decided to select NAGICO. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to answer the following question by MPD Weaver. Who are the 550 persons covered under the NAGICO insurance policy? Madam Chair, the policy was designed to cover 550 persons. However, the participation was not universal. Upon inquiry, it was established that before the policy lapsed, only 345 employees had opted to participate. While it is difficult to state exactly which individuals were covered, the policy remained open to all justice workers who wished to enroll. There was also another question, but I believe it was in the second round by MPD Weaver, concerning the involvement of the SG in communication requests to the minister. Through you, Madam Chair, in response to this question by Honorable MP De Weaver, communication with the SG has not been one that the union has explored. However, the Chief of Staff, Mr. Nicholas, has been CC'd in emails. This was due to the fact that the union did meet Mr. Nicholas at one point in time. However, there was no follow-up on what was discussed in the meeting. As union, the protocol of meetings with the minister is not clear. The one and only meeting held with the minister, the SG was not present. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to now address the questions by MP Attlee. Was there communication with the minister? Through you, Madam Chair, we would like to clarify what is meant by communication. Attempts were made. There were 2 responses received from the minister pertaining to matters that was brought to her attention by the union. Through you, Madam Chair, when we speak of communication, we are referring to numerous requests sent for meetings that were never responded to or was cancelled. Communication between the union and the minister has been inconsistent. To the question by MP Attlee, can you prove communication and outcomes? Through you, Madam Chair, the response is yes, as numerous attempts have been documented. We made proposals for monthly meetings, which was not accepted as it was deemed too ambitious. Quarterly meetings were proposed by the minister. However, to date, this has not been scheduled, Madam Chair. There were meetings also requested via the CCSU, which too was abruptly cancelled while we were in the parking lot of the government administration building, preparing to attend the meetings without no explanation. However, Madam Chair, through you, a copy of these communiques has been submitted to Parliament as per the request of the Honourable MP. To the question by MP Otley, what changes were made to the LBAS? Through you, Madam Chair, the changes that were made to the batches 12 and 13, which we are assuming the MP is referencing to, through you, Madam Chair, we would like to inform the MP that we are not privy to what was changed. However, we were told by our members that the missing over-awakener is placed in the batches that are now being delivered. We are not sure from what batch number these changes have took place. Okay. Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to answer the follow-up question by MP Otley. What is meant by the committee not being fully operational? Through you, Madam Chair, originally a neutral committee was established consisting of representatives from HR, Finance, CAPSM, and a legal advisor. This committee was tasked with handling complaints and preparing the LBAs. However, the committee effectively ceased to exist after the legal advisor was dismissed by the current Minister of Justice. Files were outsourced to SORB, which raised concerns because sensitive worker files were removed from outside the government's own administration. Madam Chair, to you, this also creates a transparency and accountability issue, as no permission was granted by the members for the files to be given to third parties. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to answer the follow-up question by MP Otley. Did you agree to partial payments, and what was the partial payments? Madam Chair, through you, an agreement was made within the CCSU and the former Minister of Justice, Ms. Anna Richardson, that payments would be made based on the amount that would be collected. This was done taking into consideration the benefit for the members, especially where taxes are concerned. However, Madam Chair, a member can opt to request a full payment of the outstanding. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to answer the question posed by MP Otley. What was wrong with batches 1 through 10? Through you, Madam Chair, the key issue is the consideration which does not reference the retroactive payment rights before January 1st, 2023. The omission is critical as workers are entitled to retroactive benefits going as far back as 2010 or their start date. Additionally, the LBAS must reference phase 2 of the process, but at present only phase 1 is acknowledged. Through you, Madam Chair, I would now like to answer the question posed by MP Westcott Williams. Did the NAGCO insurance expire, or was it replaced by another agreement? And if so, where is that agreement? Madam Chair, the NAGCO insurance policy did indeed expire, and it was not formally renewed. However, Madam Chair, the official agreement outlining this replacement of the expired policy is not readily available to us, nor has it been properly shared with the unions. This lack of documentation raises questions regarding the transparency and accountability in the decision-making process. Madam Chair, through you, I would like to answer the follow-up question by MP Westcott Williams. Was the private insurance replaced entirely by Smart and Health? Madam Chair, to you, to the Honourable MP, the private NAGCO insurance did not replace the Smart and Health provision. It is important to note that there are the two of them are fundamentally different. Smart and Health is not a full insurance policy. It provides one-time financial payment in the event of injury or death on a job, and does not offer the same comprehensive coverage as a private insurance. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to answer the follow-up question. What are the specific conditions of Smart and Health, and where is the agreement? Madam Chair, through you, the detailed conditions of the Smart and Health clause remain unclear. The unions have requested clarity on this matter, but to date, we have not received any official agreement that sets out the terms. This raises serious concerns, Madam Chair, as justice workers deserve to know the terms of any protection that they are entitled to. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to answer the follow-up question by MP Westcott Williams. Is the 200,000 guilder amount as lump sum received under Smart and Health? Madam Chair, yes. The provision foresees a lump sum of 200,000 guilders in certain cases. However, unlike the private insurance, this is a one-time payout and does not include sustained or long-term benefits for the family of the deceased or injured worker. Madam Chair, the private insurance of NAGCO also pays out 200 guilders in the case of accidental death or 200,000? 200,000 in case of accidental death or dismemberment. Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to answer the follow-up question. What is the current standing agreement for payments under the rollout of the individual batches? Madam Chair, the unions have not received any complaints about members not receiving payments. However, the expectation of what the payment should have been has disappointed many workers, so it would seem as if no payment was received. Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to answer the follow-up question. What are the specifics in terms of material? I believe this was posed by MP Westcott Williams in the second round. Madam Chair, when I made mention of material that was needed, my intent was to include all essential tools that is needed for an officer or a member of the Justice Ministry to perform their duties adequately. Madam Chair, these tools are not only physical tools, but tools that affect the well-being of overall members. Madam Chair, that would include the entire uniforms specific to the frontline workers, and also the mental well-being of all justice workers. As unions, we take the mental well-being of our members as paramount, especially when dealing with matters that the justice workers face on a daily basis. Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to answer the follow-up question. What was the issue with the mold? What was the issue with the mold brought to the attention was the issue of the mold brought to the attention of the minister and the COM? Madam Chair, the previous minister, Ms. Anna Richardson, was aware and mitigated the situation to a certain extent. However, the issue with the mold is a recurring situation. And Madam Chair, in our opinion, the communication with the Minister of Justice, Ms. Tacklin, is strained. We did, however, inform the Chief of Police. Madam Chair, through you, I now move to answer the questions by MP Atwell Arian. Is everyone in the Justice Ministry required to have this insurance, for example, administrative staff? Through you, Madam Chair, as was clarified earlier in response to MP De Weaver's question, the insurance was voluntary. It applied to all sectors of the Justice Ministry, but no one was mandated to join. Administrative workers, therefore, were eligible but not required to be covered. I now move to answer the following question posed by MP Arian. Does everyone agree with the new process for LBAS, and is it quicker and fairer? Madam Chair, through you, the majority of justice workers and their representatives do not consider the current process to be quicker and fairer. Workers still face the possibility of having to submit appeals due to errors or omissions in the LBAs, which prolongs the process instead of streamlining it. However, Madam Chair, certain members have indicated that they are okay with the process as they can get the opportunity to see what the LB contains. Through you, Madam Chair, I'll now move to answer the questions posed by MP Jansen Webster. Has there been direct contact with the minister on the points being discussed? Madam Chair, through you, as stated previously, yes, attempts have been made to contact the minister directly. However, while some exchanges might have taken place, they have not been sufficient enough to resolve the outstanding matters or to provide the clarity that the justice workers deserve. I now move to answer the follow-up question Through you, Madam Chair. Are justice workers currently covered under SMART and Health? Madam Chair, to our knowledge, the answer is no. Madam Chair, we gave this response based on a letter from the CCSU dated September 30th, 2022, where the then chair, Mr. Boseman, is responding to a request from the then Minister of Justice, Ms. Anna Richardson, dated August 4th, 2022, to the CCSU with the subject line, request for approval of the draft law legal position of the police, Besluit Rechtspolitie St. Martin. Madam Chair, in this letter, several points were listed as concern of the union. However, due to time constraints, the Besluit was approved, provided that these points would have been taken into consideration, and the Smarter Health was such one. The clause reads as follows. Madam Chair, it states, the government of St. Martin will be responsible for 100% coverage of the Smarter Health in the event that this request cannot be honored at this point in time due to financial constraints. The CCSU reserves the right to revisit and resolve this point within 3 years. Through you, Madam Chair, I now move to answer the follow-up question. Is the union in agreement with the LBAS being finalized by December? And has the position been communicated to the minister? Through you, Madam Chair, the union's position is that we support the timely finalization of the LBAs, but not at the expense of accuracy or fairness. Our concern is that rushing the process to meet a December deadline could result in further errors, requiring more appeals and delays, as the previous batch 13 took about 18 months to be finalized. 8 months, sorry, 8 months. Okay, I now move to answer the questions posed by MP Darrell York. Has there been any meetings with the minister within the last 8 months? Through you, Madam Chair, we would like to clarify that what is meant by communication. Attempts were made. There were 2 responses received from the minister pertaining to 2 matters that was brought to attention by the union. Madam Chair, when we speak of communication, we're referring to numerous requests sent for meetings that were never responded to or cancelled. Communication has indeed been inconsistent. Madam Chair, that is all the questions to the MPs. That is all answers to MPs' questions received during the previous meeting. I do hope that we have answered all questions asked.
Thank you, Mr. Pantoflet. I am asking the members if there's any need for additional deliberation on this topic. I'm seeing that there is. I will start with MP La Cruz. You have the floor.
A blessed afternoon, Madam Chair Lady, Griffier, and the representatives of the unions, my fellow colleagues in Parliament. A blessed afternoon to you all. Madam Chair Lady, through you, I missed a couple questions that I asked. I didn't get a reply on them. Question number 1 was actually, what actually are your proposals, or were your proposals, and have any proposals been made regarding the Nagico life insurance? That was the question. So the answer I received was that a committee was formed, but the question was, what were your recommendations concerning the insurance? Not just that a committee was formed. Did anything come out of the committee then? And then question number 3 that I asked for a copy of the insurance policy. I don't know if it came in to Parliament, but I have not seen that. You hear my question? It came in?
I'm here confirming with the griffier, but I would suggest, if you agree, MP La Cruz, that you will ask your questions. I will verify and then answer you. And if not, then Mr. Pantoflet can reply to that answer. Is that okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, you may continue.
And then the next question was if the Nagico insurance, if you know was ever offered to any one of the other disciplines within the justice system. So the firefighters, seeing that these are also frontline workers. So the whole idea, the question was if you would be able to get a better deal if more people would be able to join the insurance scheme. Yes, that'll be that all for now, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. Before I ask Mr. Montflet if he can answer the questions posed by the member, I would like to make it known that the insurance has been sent to the members of the committee. It was this morning, so maybe it was missed. So please check your email. It's noted on the IS number 035, dated September 15th. So that was received. Yes. I will continue with the members to ask the questions, and then I will come back to the board to reply on those answers. I will now go over to MP Westcott Williams. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and a good afternoon to you, our support staff, my colleagues, and of course, the visiting representatives of the unions. Thank you for providing answers to the questions posed by members of Parliament in a previous meeting. And Madam Chair Lady, what you just mentioned might answer my questions with respect to us having, if I understood you correctly, having received the policy of the insurance. That being the case, again, I might find answers to my questions in that policy, because I just wanted to make sure that I have things in the right perspective. There was a Nagico life insurance that expired and has not been renewed. So that's the Nagico life insurance. That life insurance included a payout by accidental death, and another payout was also mentioned. All part of the Nagico insurance, which is not in effect right now. I place a question mark by that, which is not in effect right now. Then you have the issue of the Smarte Geld, which is in effect, which includes a payout on the different conditions, probably death as well, of 200,000 guilders, but the unions are unaware of the details of that particular policy on Smarte Geld. I'm just making sure that I understand what the situation is right now with insurance for the justice workers. Again, what exactly the Nagico insurance entails and includes would probably be evident when I peruse the document that we have received today. But it also includes a payout that could, question, be compared to the Smarte Geld. Yet, we don't have an insurance such as the Nagico life insurance in place right now, but the Smarte Geld is in place in case, God forbid, something happens to someone and that person loses his or her life. I just want to understand that that's where we are at right now, where the insurance is concerned. Because if that is the case, then it behooves us in this committee to get that information. How can we be talking about whether it be the insurance, which by the way, I'm understanding we got a policy, so that's good, but talking about something like Smarte Geld, but those who are covered by this Smarte Geld policy, law, whatever it is, are not sure what exactly it all entails. So I just need to get yes, no, maybe so MP, you understood it right or you understood it wrong, so that then we would know what to follow up on in order to receive the information. So if I could just get that picture even clearer, then I would know where to take it from here and what I would be looking for from the government as far as the insurance of the justice workers is concerned. So I would leave it there, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Sarah Westcott Williams. It was understood, the question from the MP and the clarification that the MP is seeking. Okay, that seems to be the case. I now go over to MP Doran. MP Doran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the President of the NAPB, the President of the WICSU, and their support staff, and a special shout out to the people of St. Martin that are tuned in. Madam Chair, all the discussions surrounding placement and all these things with justice has been a long-standing situation. It has been discussed time and time again. Some great strides were made in 2020. Subsequently in 2023 when the batches started to roll out. But what stood out in the responses from the chairman, Madam Chair, is the fact that seeking a monthly meeting was deemed too ambitious. I had the opportunity to read the request, and it seemed like a pretty humbling request to introduce the NAPB to the new minister. I'm assuming the effort went into it to, build a sort of relationship in order to mend a lot of these long-standing issues. And if they can't even get a meeting or a structured meeting, then I think that we're really not on the right path. Well, in that case, the government is not on the right path. Madam Chair, with regards to the life insurance, during the budget debate, I requested some clarification because what I thought I heard in terms of who was covered and who wasn't covered. When I asked that question, the response from the minister was then, I am insinuating that there's no insurance for the workers, which was not my insinuation. I just wanted clarity based on the article that I was reading. Nevertheless, I was told in that meeting, Madam Chair, that yes, they are covered. Subsequent to that, there was a meeting most recently when we talked about the status of the prison where I asked for clarification again on the same coverage in terms of insurance, and then the response was, yes, indeed, you're right. There was a mix-up during the budget response. So there's so many different scenarios, and I think that a clear-cut clarification is needed as to what is the current situation. Because I heard in the response that in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, the policy had lapsed, but once the payment was made, the insurance company honored the request based on the claim that was made. My question is, Madam Chair, through you, God forbid something happen today. Will that same leniency be afforded, or why do we have to wait for something to happen? God forbid when somebody is already making payment, that it's not being handled by the government's end. That for me is missing in terms of why it's not active at the moment. So I hear all the answers. I know that the policy is somewhere in the air coming to us right now as we speak, which I look forward to being able to read it. But I would really like some clarification as to what would happen in a scenario like right here and now, because I think that that is very important. I know the importance of life insurance. I feel that it is a great thing to have, and those that are not on it yet, my advice to you is get on it. And for me, Madam Chair, if the union, representatives of the workers, which are simply carrying out their civil duty in terms of assisting, can get an audience with the minister, then I think all is lost. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Doran. I will now continue with MP York. MP York, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to yourself, the griffier, unions, colleagues, and the viewing public. Madam Chair, I have just one point of clarification because we're discussing things such as insurance, LBAS, etc., while in my humble opinion, the reason why we are here is because there's some type of breakdown in communication between the unions and the minister, right? So while my colleagues pose very crucial questions as it pertains to the insurance and the LBAs, my question, or the two questions I had, I don't feel I really got a solid answer on that, because at the end of the day, we could discuss the insurances at length, we could discuss the LBAS at length, but the next problem that comes up, if the communication problem is not fixed, we'll be right here again at square one, right? So my question is, again, through you, Madam Chair, when I listened to the presentation, it was said, and I stand to be corrected, it was said that there was, after the initial request of a monthly meeting, to which the minister replied, a quarterly one, I think, if I remember correctly. From what I understood, there was no communication after that, right? Hence my question then, has the unions had, NAPB in particular, had any communication in those couple of months with the minister, and do they have anything that they can show to Parliament or anyone that would want to know, hey, look, these are the lines of communication or the attempts of communication we've attempted to have with the minister, and that it to no avail? Because in the answer that was given, it was stated that, hey, there was communication, but the communication was not satisfactory, right? To be a neutral party in that, satisfactory could be satisfactory to one and not to the other. And it doesn't mean that something is wrong, right? So my question is, again, certain things are out of the hands and influence of sometimes the union or the minister. So I'm asking the unions, within your own circle of influence, what has the unions done to better or to be persistent in that line of communication between the unions and the minister? Because if it was just a letter that was sent in January, nothing in between, and now we are here in August, September, then there's room for improvement there on both sides, right? So if clarification can be given to exactly what has been attempted and what are the plans moving forward, because at the end of the day, I mean, it could be 15 of us, 30 of us in here, the line of communication between the unions and the minister has to be repaired, or the white noise has to be taken away some way, somehow or fashion, right? So my question is, from the circle of influence from the unions, what are the plans to better that, or what are the plans to improve that moving forward? That would be all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP York. There are no other questions. Oh, yes. MP De Wever, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Chair Lady, to my colleagues and to NAPB that's here with us today, and those in the Tribune and those listening in. I'm just going to ask us all then to just pay keen attention to the previous speaker because of what they asked for, what was mentioned by the MP. And if everybody had the chance to go through the documents that were provided to us earlier, a lot of information will be provided to help the MPs to actually see the timeline of everything that's been happening. And I would say maybe since November, because I perused it quickly, and it's not, I'm not calling out anyone, I'm calling about the importance of everybody being on the same page for the trajectory of where we are today in terms of what is expected also, again, of Parliament's role in this process. Because when we go through the documents, a lot of information is provided by NAPB, and then at the same time, when they're providing information, I'm looking up the articles that are coming as a response from the minister as well to NAPB, which happens in the newspapers as opposed to in a room together like how we're communicating right now. And then also, I will point out that there's also both sides of communication from NAPB and from the minister's cabinet regarding various topics. Some of them are missing immigration payment for March, and then another one is about the Landsbesluit as well. And then again, we get to the NAGICO. So if I would suggest then, knowing all this information, if maybe we can just take a 5 minutes as a suggestion, Chair Lady, for you to consider, for us to go through it. Because when we go through this document and you see that everything that is there on the table, just as the previous speaker just said, there's a communication breakdown again here, and this seems to be the recurring trend right now with everything going on in government. But the communication breakdown is a way for us to manage expectations also from the union side, because I don't want to take away any you know, let's say awareness or attention or urgency on the side of NAPB. But the thing is that the last time I checked, and respectfully to everybody involved across the board, you know, in the Council of Ministers, civil servants, union members, members of Parliament, we are not a mediator in Parliament. And so the thing is, and I want us to be very careful of the expectations of our role. Now, again, I'm going to go back to the 5 minutes I asked for us to just all get on the same page here, because what happens, what I see, if I could look at everything that's been provided, is communication happening for various topics, but it's not consistent. There's people calling for meetings, meetings aren't being met. The people cancel, they can't make a meeting today for whatever reason. It's on the side of the minister, it's on the side of the union members, maybe that the important ones have to be there. It's on the side of the staff that are saying they're gonna schedule something and then something doesn't get scheduled. So I want us to make sure that we're giving attention to the actual topic at hand and not to the communication breakdown, because that's what I see as a main issue that we need to resolve first before we can ensure that everybody gets the proper coverage of insurance, because that's a big deal, that we know where we're going with the LBAS, that we know that when persons are not getting paid, that stuff is being handled properly by the Ministry of Finance. So I don't want to upset anybody by my directness, but I want us to really manage expectations here on what we are going to do, what the union is going to do, what is expected of the minister as well, and their communication. But everybody needs to really sort of say, hey, I'm seeing the whole evidence here, but then we're at this point. The fact that we're at this point here in Parliament, then we're just going to go back in a circle when nothing's going to get done. Just come down with concrete things of what we're going to be expecting of people to do now. That's it, Madam Chair Lady. Thanks.
Thank you, MP De Wever, for your input. There's a proposal to adjourn for 5 minutes to peruse the documents that the MP is referring to. Is there any objection to that for the 5 minute perusal? That does not seem to be the case. Before doing so, though, I would like to give MP Myers. Yeah? Okay. So then I will go over to adjourning the meeting for 5 minutes. Meeting adjourned for 5 minutes. I hereby reopen the Justice Committee meeting. We had adjourned based on the proposal of MP De Wever. We are currently at the members of parliament that wanted to seek clarification or ask additional questions on this matter. The member that would like to have the floor at this point in time is MP De Wever. Before going to you, MP De Wever, I remember before I adjourned, it was MP Myers. MP Myers, do you still wish to have the floor? That does not seem to be the case. MP De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and also I wanted to tell you thanks and everyone in here thanks for giving us extra time to review the documents. Because when you do review the documents, you see the timeline that I mentioned before the pause, even though we went over 5 minutes, that is back and forth. And then when you go in further detail, you understand that even actually from the first time that we came here in the meeting, the first round of this meeting that was started, certain comments were mentioned in terms of communication, because I'm trying to gauge my approach to this around communication and get to the two big topics that I got out of this meeting that need to be handled. From the first meeting, you understand that communication wants to be done across the board in terms of with all of the unions. And I'm gonna look at the unions now, Mr. Pontifet and his team, to make sure that I'm writing down the correct information or I'm stating the correct information. So if communication across the board has to be done with all groups, that means it would be in ANAPB, WICSU, B2, and ABVO. Is that correct? So that means four unions would have to be expected to come together to meet with a minister. Now, I'm pointing this out so that we can get to the nitty-gritty of why communication is very important for us to resolve this.
Just to clarify, I think it's 3 and not 4.
Sorry.
Just to, yeah?
Did I, so which 3 actually? Well, you can correct it for me after, just so that we understand 3. Whether it's 2 or 3 or 4, Madam Chair Lady, communication, when you start including a lot of groups, it gets very hard to handle for minutes. So I wanted to state that from my perspective, that communication one-on-one might actually work to resolve the issues that I see here upon this meeting today. Prior to the break, I said, you know, I want to get to what the nitty-gritty problem is here, because for me, initially, what I saw as the problem was the focus on the insurance, which I think that the justice workers should be entitled to and have a choice to have it, right? And then the conversation went from the first meeting into this meeting where there was an alternative provided, but I am not, quite frankly, I'm not satisfied with the alternative provided because I don't understand what it was. And it was some health.
Smarte Geld.
Smarte Geld. I don't understand what that is. I understand when you have a company like the one that was presented, covering them beforehand, Magico. I understand how that policy works. I don't know what the other concept is, and I have no shame saying that right here. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it works. That has not been provided to me. That was the big issue number 1 that I took from the first meeting and continuing into this meeting. Big issue number 2 was the LBAS, the continuation of the LBAS. You look at the correspondence, you see that there's continuous correspondence from since November 2024, talking about batch 13, where are we with batch 13? So just for context of everyone that is in this meeting hall and those that are tuned into this, when you look at a time lag from November that they're communicating to today, which is September, I believe, 16th, since all my days are blurred and I work every day, September 16th, we're almost a year later. So you can understand now when communication is broken down, but we're talking now almost 10 months later, communication is going to, basically, the lack of communication or no moving forward will deteriorate any relationship even more, even though both sides might be working, but we don't know because based on the communication that we are getting in this from the side of the union, it looks like it's not working. Communication is not working. So, right, again, I go back to the point of, well, what is the big issue here? I'm looking at what do you want me as an MP here to do today? How can I help you all resolve this? Because while I'm not a mediator to this situation, I know what I can do as a member of parliament. I can write letters to the ministers inquiring why this isn't done. We can call for OVAs. We can call for our meeting, the 1 hour meeting with them where we give the questions in advance. But is that going to resolve an issue that we see ongoing from November 24th? So all I'm asking is that everybody gets on the same page right now where how is it that this is going all over the place? Something is not working. So I'm sure by the end of this meeting we'll get to it. Because right now, I need to make sure that we fix the main issue I see, which is a lack of communication. And it's proven to us based on the documents that we were provided. So if something is not happening on that level of the Council of Minister level, executive branch with the Union of Civil Servants, then something is really wrong when we have to come here today. That's what I want to make sure point out, and I'm pretty sure that if everybody was asked that question, they will agree, yeah, this ain't working, something ain't working. How are we gonna get to that resolution so that the NAGICO, or sorry, not the NAGICO, so that the insurance and the LBAS then get our core attention? Because then I listened very clearly to what Mr. Pontiflet stated about was the SG involved. And I'm gonna go right back down here again to the, how are we going to advise the union and the minister of how to improve their relationship going forward? Because what it sounds like to me is even if you don't include the Secretary General in this communication, we're going to continue going in a circle. And that's what I want to see resolved by the union being here with Parliament today, is that we make something realistic plan going forward, which actually to me still is unreal, that we have to be here to reinforce that people should talk to each other. Because you know what we're going to deal with if this doesn't happen? We're going to have a go slow. We're going to have, again, everybody coming up here at Parliament with the sirens blaring, and that's okay, because you know why? That gets attention. But then we will have the entire island at the detriment of a lack of communication. And that's when things will get even worse, and then people will be missing out on their safety of what they're providing for us. And that's what I don't want. And I don't want to sit out here and I'm saying that I'm sending a threat. I'm not sending a threat. That's a reality. Because we saw what happened with the ambulance workers here before and the fire department. So I know my role. I know what I can do. I can send letters. But I want to get to the main crux of how we're going to go forward as a Committee of Justice and make sure that this is not going to keep coming back and going around in circles. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP De Wever, for your input. I will now go over to MP La Cruz. MP La Cruz, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, thank you first for allowing us to go over the document. I did see that it came in as an email actually 11:44 this morning into our emails, which I think for such an extended document, I think it is, number one, a shame. We should have had more time with it. I do understand that the union sent it since Sundays, so that is something that could actually be worked on a little harder from our part here in Parliament. Madam Chair Lady, I didn't just peruse the documents because, and I am not a fast reader, because when you read fast, you miss a lot of details, okay? When I look at the email and the correspondence, nobody could tell me here that there's no willingness from the unions to get things in order. Nobody can tell me that. And I am going to go through it because I think it is a shame that every time we're going back to the same problem, the same confusion, which is literally the lack of respect from the government to the union and the representatives. And then we are asked here in Parliament what we could do. Well, I know what I could do. And I know that writing letters don't make no sense at all. On the 28th, a letter was sent asking for an introduction, asking for a meeting. For those that didn't read it, was that ever held? That is a question. On the 19th of December, 2024, an update was asked on batch 12. Confirmation was given by the cabinet that it is ready on the 19th. Thanks was sent, good correspondence. A week time is okay. Press release, February, because between December and February, no more batches came out. So a press release came out that the unions are not satisfied with the manner and the pace that they are coming out. In emails, on the 4th of March, CCSU requested a meeting with a minister. On the 20th of March, so between the 4th and the 20th of March, between the 4th and the 20th of March, you receive an email canceling a meeting. On the 25th of March, you send another concerning the salary of the immigration officers, that they did not receive their salaries. On the 25th of March, requesting a meeting for immigration officers. You get an email back that same day, canceling a meeting. On the 15th of May, you come out with a press release. On the 16th of May, that is answered. On the 23rd of May, your representative, the lawyer, sends a letter or email, a letter to the Minister of Justice. On the 7th of August, so between the 23rd of May and the 7th of August, has there been no communication? On the 7th of August, you send a letter then to the Prime Minister, the Minister of Justice, CC to the Minister of Justice, and also to the Minister of TIAT. Madam Chair Lady, I am glad that we received this. Now I understand what is going on and what is the problem. And that means that it is time that we call the Minister of Justice to hear her side of the story with what we have. And maybe there are emails missing. Maybe. And we'll give the benefit of the doubt, but I would like that information also from the Minister of Justice. Because this needs to stop.
Thank you, MP La Cruz. I now give the floor to MP York.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also like to ask, thank the previous speaker because in case my question was not correctly understood, exactly the rundown what the previous speaker, MP La Cruz, just elaborated on was the crux of what I was trying to understand. Because as MP La Cruz stated, I'm one of those that didn't see the correspondences because, as he said, Parliament got it on Sunday. It was sent to us at 11:30. The meeting was 2 o'clock. Those of us who weren't on our phones at a period of time didn't see it. So that's why I followed up with asking, are there exact emails requesting or attempting for meetings or communication with the minister? And that answer I finally got just now. Madam Chair, I would like to just address one thing because I see it's a reoccurring trend when parties come to Parliament requesting help in any way, sort, form, or fashion. In the previous meeting with the fire and ambulance, it was stated that Parliament can't do anything. And in this one, it was alluded to that Parliament cannot be mediators. But I would like to just remind all my colleagues that we are here to serve the people in any way, shape, or fashion that we can. And if they don't know what they want exactly from us, it's our job to figure out how we can help them. And this is one of those situations where, as my colleague just stated, once we have the story from both sides, we will know how to proceed. And it's fair enough to say we have the story in the side of the unions. I am, to be politically correct, a bit flabbergasted by the alleged comment that a meeting once a month would be a bit ambitious, seeing the the seriousness of the topics being discussed, being insurance, LBAS, etc. And I would like to know and understand from the minister what, moving forward, is the intention as it pertains to communication with the unions. That being said, I still, even though there's a trail of emails, I would like to impart on the union to not to stop sending them, right? Because at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. And for the rest, it's up to the minister and up to Parliament to see what Parliament can do in order to aid that endeavor. So with that being said, Madam Chair, I look forward to our meeting with the minister, as the previous speaker said, not to point any fingers, but to understand where she is coming from in order for us to know as a Parliament what we can do and what we are willing to do. So that being said, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP York. I saw that MP Doran had his request. Okay, I'm seeing that MP De Weaver would like to say something.
Yeah, let me, thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Let me just make sure that I am very clear. Plain English is easily understood. So when I say that I'm not a mediator, I am saying that in the context of trying to understand exactly where we are with a back and forth. When I say I'm not a mediator, I'm saying I am not a mediator between the minister and the union, and I give a follow-up after that, stating specifically, I know exactly what I can do as a member of Parliament. I can write a letter to the minister, I can call a question hour, I can call an OVE where 3 people sign on to it. So when I say I'm not a mediator, let me make sure everybody understands very clearly that I understand my role here in Parliament. So don't try and downplay it that I don't want to represent nobody here today. I understand very well my role. So Ida, we'll come again with that.
Thank you, MP De Weaver. MP Doran, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As one of my colleagues who is not here with us right now would say, in terms of a response to another MP, I know my place, Madam Chair. Chapter 11 in the Rules of Order is very clear. The right of initiative, the right of interpellation, the right to ask questions. Madam Chair, let's be real and call a spade a spade. The language that the union is talking is not foreign. It's very familiar to me with this government in particular. Because if they don't answer us as members of Parliament, the proof is in the pudding, Madam Chair. So therefore, we can do a lot. As we are here in the Justice Committee, we could call one General Affairs, we could call a CC, OVE, all these type of things, motions, law amendments, budget amendments, in order to see that the union can have an easier road to get the job done for their members. Madam Chair, they are not here on their own strength. They are here to represent their members, who all of us will go knocking by and campaigning by. So it's foreign to me sometimes when I hear certain instances what we can and cannot do, because we just get very creative around election time and make everything happen. So therefore, enough with the fun and games, enough with the promises, let us give real results. And that is the reason why. That is the reason why I asked for clarity on certain things, and I know that some things were discussed offline, but I want my online questions answered, because same way so, union members send me questions, and they also seek clarity, because right now you're putting the union leaders in tight positions where sometimes in certain instances the members feel underrepresented, but they don't have all the specific details. So yes, we as mediators, we as people persons, we as everything that we need to be, because at the end of the day, we are not here on our own strength, we are here based on the strength of the people. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Doran. There are not any more questions from the members of Parliament. Before going over, MP Utley would like to have the floor. MP Utley, I give you the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the viewing and listening public. Madam Chair, the reason that we received the documents is not that the unions wanted to send it for fun. I specifically asked for proof of correspondence. Reason being, I did not want to just come here and point fingers and bash the minister. So I asked specific questions. Did you provide any insight? Did you, through you, Madam Chair, the unions, come with suggestions? Did you, the unions, suggested to meet? And what baffles me is that the Minister of Justice is telling the unions of justice once a month is too ambitious. Let it sink in. And then I hear my colleague ask about the different 3 unions, and I want to make it clear that according to the union, the minister said she does not want to meet one-on-one basis and prefers to meet with everyone. So it was suggested then that the full CCSU, is present. That's the minister's suggestion. And then my colleague stated right here that there might be some email threads missing. I find it very, very, very 99.2% doubtful. Because when you have a minister, as my colleague stated, that don't answer members of parliament, don't even answer their own coalition member, don't even answer the chairlady of the Justice Committee, and can tell an MP to go seek answers from their connections in the prison, no respect, utter disrespect. So I can believe that the minister laughed in your face. I can believe that you are feeling disrespected. And the word disrespect is a word that I've seen across the various unions so far. Fire department, ambulance departments. I specifically asked because I wanted to know when I open my mouth, we have factual documents attached to it. I asked about the LBAS and the processes and are you satisfied, and you said no. There's also email threads where you are not satisfied. There was an article recently that says if you cannot handle the position, give it up. And I stand by that article. The Justice Union are here today in Parliament because they cannot get communication with the Minister of Justice. And then when we speak about crime and different aspects, and I said it, after 10 months, we have yet to have a clear plan of approach to tackle crime. But how? When we can't even sit with the people that are supposed to tackle the crime. We see 4 persons in front of us, but represents over 200. Over 200 was stated that they represent. And then when you hear that other parts of the justice factions, of the justice ministry are planning go-slows, where are we going? What is indeed the plan of approach? I see in the newspaper, it says, Minister of Justice signs to change justice reform or the way that justice is moving forward. To my questions to the unions, are you aware of this agreement that is signed? Because Parliament is not aware of any agreement that is signed, but I see in the paper, and this is where we learn later down, years and years and years from now, as my colleague stated to me off camera, when you say, but how this happened? Oh, remember this date in 2025 that was signed? And I ask this question because, as a minister, you are to refer to your stakeholders. And the union represents the stakeholders. And I'm not making this up. The union stated today that the relationship between the justice workers and the ministers is strained. Strained. So again, Madam Chair, through you, as chair of the Justice Committee, I ask for urgency in us having the minister present so we can hear, according to my colleagues, her side. But you can change your words, but you can't change black and white. And that is the reason I specifically asked for this email thread. And members have been trying to push the narrative or ask the question on what was the result of the 3-month request? What was the result of the quarterly request? And I heard you say it loud and clear. Nothing. When I was minister, I met with SZV every month. met with my various stakeholders. It's no way once a month with the unions of justice is too ambitious for the Minister of Justice. So I too look forward to this meeting being called. But let me say something real quick. Any member that has to question why a union comes to Parliament needs to reconsider their position. I am proud that unions are finding their way to Parliament, because you know why, Madam Chair? For the first time in a long time, the unions are trusting the members of Parliament. Keep coming. To the public, keep coming, and if they don't want to accept you, I'll accept you. The United People's Party will accept you with open arms. So regardless of what we can do and what we can't do, just by you showing up here shows, for the first time in a long time, you have confidence in Parliament as a body. And you believe that we as members of Parliament can do. And trust me, some can do more than others at this moment. Because when they have coalition meetings, I am not invited. That's a fact, not fiction. You keep showing up. And there was a point here where only when the unions took it to the media, you received a response. And as I stated with the Prime Minister and the Minister of VSA, I can more than guarantee something will happen now. It's public. Something will happen now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Otley. Currently, there are no questions more left from the members of Parliament. A lot of questions have been asked. Currently, it's for the union to answer those questions, but before coming to the conclusion how much time is needed, I will adjourn the meeting for 3 minutes. Meeting adjourned. Good afternoon. I hereby reopen the Justice Committee meeting. We had adjourned to give the union the time to let us know how much time is needed to answer the questions that are still pending of the members of parliament. Mr. Pantoflet, I give you the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I would like to have the option to review the questions posed by the MPs so that I can give them factual answers.
To Mr. Pantoflet, speaking it into existence. Mr. Pantoflet, seeing that request, I would like request propose 2 weeks, and also to make it easier on the union, because a lot was said as were statements for the members that have their questions, to send it to DIF so that the union can come prepared with the answers to the question. That said, I have heard a lot today, and I think we can all agree that the main pointer that has been brought forward today is communication and the lack of communication, and seeing that we haven't concluded the meeting as yet, and the union would be answers, and then there's a whole procedure to finalize, and then eventually give the Minister of Justice the option to respond to the questions, of the answers given question. I do not want to leave today's meeting just like this. So therefore, I would like to propose to the members of the Justice Committee that we will be sending a letter to the Minister of Justice based on the discussions so far, thus far, requesting the Minister to inform the Committee of Justice how the Ministry intends to look at a more structured communication system with the union, and this request will be then sent out, and the response to ask for a response before the continuation of the committee meeting within 2 weeks. So that's the proposal. I'd like to know how the members see it. I see that MP Westcott Williams would like to respond. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Agree with your proposal. And in fact, I would suggest that to that question to the minister, can we also get clarity about the insurance matter overall, and in particular the issue of the smarter health, which was a question that I've asked, but if we could get that information from the side of the minister also in a letter, because it's clear that members have questions regarding that. And so even if we await the answer from the union representatives, let's also get that one time. Let's also ask for that one time from the minister. So if that can be added, then thank you.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. I'm not seeing that there is any other member that would like to add to the request and the proposal. So I see that, I conclude that, oh no, I conclude that the proposal was accepted, and also with addition to the pointers of MP Westcott Williams. So to clarify, what will be done now is a letter will be sent to the Minister of Justice based on a discussion thus far, requesting the Minister of Justice to inform the Committee of Justice how the Ministry intends to look at a more structured communication system with the unions, and to request that answer before the upcoming meeting, and to add to that part also to receive clarity on the insurance policy, and also in connection with the smarter health matter. What's the difference? How does it work exactly? So those 3 pointers will be requested from the Minister of Justice. That being said now, if there are no other further comments, I would like to thank everyone, the union representatives, for their presence here today and providing the necessary answers, and also adding to the discussions, also the members of parliament for contributing to the active live discussion today. We are now, ladies and gentlemen, come to the end of this meeting for now. I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned until 2 weeks.